Alright guys, today we are going to service this dryer. So what I'm going to show you is how to fix a dryer that's not heating, or if it takes 2-3 loads, doesn't get very hot, and after 2 loads it's still not quite dry, so you got to run it 2-3 times. Just doesn't seem like it's heating very well. Let me give you an overview of this dryer here. Very basic style. Now if you have this style with the door on front, console on top, and lint trap right here, they're basically all the same on the inside. So yours might look a little bit different than this, but if you've got this that pulls out here on top, then this video should work for you as well. Common misconception is that a lot of people think that if it's taking a long time to dry, their heating element's going out. That's not the case. The heating element, typically it works or it doesn't. It doesn't really kind of work. What happens is, the reason it takes 2-3 times, 2-3 loads to get it dry is because there's an airflow restriction. And how that can happen, let me grab my chair here so we can talk it out a little better. Oh, get the stuff out of the way. Okay, so what happens is, essentially, this is where the air comes out. So a quick thing you can do is you can pull it out from the wall, pull your little vent that probably looks like this, probably have something like this on there. You pull that off and run it. Stick your hand back here and you should feel the heat and you should feel real strong airflow. If you're not hardly feeling any airflow, or if once you take that off a whole bunch of crap falls out, a good indicator that this is going to be clogged up, and I'll show you how to service that. Because the restriction of the airflow is what causes these not to heat properly. So we'll get into this and I'll show you how to tear it all down, but essentially the air actually starts behind this right here. Sucks in through here, up over the heating coils, inside the dryer. Okay, which comes out here, circulates the heat, and then goes through here, which is where your lint trap is, so the lint gets trapped in your lint trap, then goes down through a blower wheel, which is right here, and then out. Now if there's a restriction anywhere in there, blocking or clogging that airflow, this will overheat and the heat won't get inside the dryer, the clothes won't get dry. That can cause your heating element to overheat and go bad, go out, trip some of the safety sensors. Then again, like I said, we'll get into that. Obviously the first thing you want to check is this right here. I gave you a couple other tips to make sure it's not the timer. So let's get into it. Okay, these are the tools that you're going to need. You can essentially do it all with a little screwdriver. That's where you would insert a bit, and just that little spot there is about a 1/4 drive, and that'll work to take the screws off the back. Use this to pull some of the plier connections or the wire connections off with the pliers. Makes it a lot easier. I'm going to use a drill. It's a lot faster. I've got my 1/4 bit on there, and then the last thing you're going to need to really check efficiently is a good voltmeter. Let me grab that. Alright, so like this guy here. Now you can buy these for like $7 or $8 at Harbor Freight, $10 at Walmart, and essentially the only feature you really need is where it shows if you have continuity. I have a tripod, which I'll get into in a second, but for now, and what happens is when you touch the tips together, so if you're checking a component and it beeps at you like that, that's how you know it's good. I'll show you that on the back side. So let me set up the tripod. I'm going to show you how to take the back panel off, and that's where we're going to start. Alright guys, we're going to get started here. So you can see it's kind of dirty. I haven't done anything with this one because I wanted you to see what most used dryers look like on the inside. So step 1 is to take these screws. You have 3 here, typically 3 here. Sometimes there's a plate covering this with an extra one, and then 3 on the side there. So we're going to take those out. It's a lot faster with the drill. Set that down. As you can see, disgusting. So if you have a vacuum, this would be where you would service this. I mean, it's gross. So we're gonna do that. Okay, now we can at least work on this without it being super gross. Alright, so this is your heating element. This is your essentially high thermostat or high limit thermostat. This is your high limit thermistor. So this is kind of like a fuse. This is a fuse. If this blows, it will not work at all. And then this right here controls the auto sensing for the dryer. So you put it on the auto setting and it auto senses how wet the clothes are and how long it needs to go. That's what that one's for. So quick rundown of what those guys are. So first thing you'd want to check, this guy here, say it's not heating at all. Typically the culprit you'd think it's going to be the heating element. Most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's this guy here. This is your first fuse, if you will. Now if it's good, it's going to beep at it. So it's good. So that's not the problem. We come down here to the heating element. Okay, just pull those off. We're going to check from here to here. And the heating element itself is good. Let me make sure you guys can see all that. Yeah, you should be able to see that. So let me get you a close-up view here. This is the fuse here. Fix my zoom. Okay, so you would check these two, and if it beeps at you, you're good. Down here, you would check these two, and if it beeps at you, you're good. Okay, I don't really know what that is. You don't need to check that part there. So good here, good here. We'll move on to the next thing. So likely then this was taken 2 or 3 times to get the clothes dry. All right, we can check this fuse here. Let me put you back up on the tripod. Just wanted you to be able to get a closer look. Okay. All right, so we're gonna check this guy. Okay, that one's good. And then this guy down here. Check it as well. Just the 2 red connections. Check and make sure it's good. And they are, so. So this machine has power, it has heat, everything is moving through the system like it's supposed to. How you could check the heating element if you wanted to visually inspect it. You take these 2 screws off here, you let it fall on the floor, and then you could visually inspect this here for breaks. So if we had checked that and you didn't get a beep, you'd know there's a break in the continuity here somewhere, and you could replace this, fix it, whatever you wanted to do there. I'll have another video in depth about heating elements and what you can do to fix it if you're in a pinch and you absolutely have to have your dryer, because a lot of times parts are just a few days out. So got a few tips there. Let's put this back on since that's not the problem with this guy. Okay. So typically what I find the culprit to be most of the time is a blockage. Now maybe that blockage is where this goes on outside the house. Maybe there's some obstruction. Could just be right here in the vent. Could be like a sock, or could be overloaded with lint. So you want to clean that out, probably first step. But it's always good to service your dryer too. So next, we're going to take these 4 screws off here. Okay. I'm going to switch my bits over to a Phillips head, because the next thing we have to take off, let me show you real quick. Come up here, pull out your lint trap, these 2 Phillips head screws right here. So I'm going to pop those off real quick. Make sure you know what I'm doing here. Super easy. I'll just leave those laying right there. Now that we have those 4 screws off, and let me show you those 4 screws. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Pop those off. I'm not sure why my focus. Sorry guys, I normally am holding the camera when I'm doing this. This is a little new for me, but I wanted to start making these videos with as much detail as possible so people can fix their appliances, keep them going, not have to spend a lot of money or any money to fix them. A lot of times people are just throwing stuff away, and you know, not everybody can afford to just buy new. So here we go. We're gonna lift up a little bit and pull this out. Now I think we found the problem. Let me show you here once again. For shaky ride. Hold on, I'm gonna use my leg to prop this up. There we go. Take a look at this here. This is the inside where the lint trap is. So it didn't get cleaned out like it's supposed to. So all of that causes a huge restriction in the airflow, okay? And then take a look in there. It's disgusting. There's just stuff everywhere. And so the air will move through there very slowly, clogged down in there. I'm not sticking my phone in there. It's really bad down in there. So we're gonna vacuum that out. And that right there is probably gonna fix the issue with this dryer not heating well. So, and at this point I would just call this a general servicing. A lot of times when you buy a used dryer and you go from their house to your house and plug it in, you're getting all their old stuff. And sometimes all kinds of stuff down in here. I mean, nails, pins, bobby pins, money, just all kinds of stuff. Vacuum, if you can get kind of a round guy here or flat one, once you You can kind of fit it in between these little guys. These won't break unless you like really jack it up. These are pretty strong. I kind of shove it in between these two, and that allows me to get all the little stuff. Okay, so now when you put this back in, you start at the top, kind of angle it down. And I have to just wiggle it up in there. And then go in just a little bit at an angle. You can kind of pick up on this a little bit. Slides right back into place. Sometimes that can be a pain if you don't pick up on it. You're trying to fight it and down here and it didn't want to fit. So what I'll do there, now I'm just going to put these two screws back on top. I'll show you that. So you're just going to kind of push that into place and pop those two screws in. It's a lot easier to do it on top first. If you put the bottom screws on first, you'll have a hard time getting this lined up here. Okay, back down here. Sometimes it's easier just to sit on the floor. So we've serviced this now. And if you had the issue of it just not heating well, you've likely fixed that issue. Your dryer should work like brand new again. Make sure that you check that hose that goes out, because that could be clogged. Maybe that could be the issue. Maybe this was bone dry clean, and for some reason it wasn't getting it dry in the first load or two. Probably have a clog going out. Could be on the outside of your house where the vents open are supposed to blow. Sometimes lint builds up there and nothing, air can't get out, and it traps and overheats. So if that's you, then we fixed your issue, you're good to go. But I want to talk now to the people who that's not the issue, that did not fix the problem. And let's say, because we're kind of troubleshooting all of this here. So let's say, excuse my camera workage here, I'm a cameraman on my second job if you can't tell. Not really. Let's say you check this, and or you don't have one of these, so you just pull it off and you look and you found it was broken. You can order a new one. I mean, it's super easy. You basically just pull these off, put the new one on, put them back on, you're done. Okay, if this is good, but this guy didn't work. Okay, a couple of scenarios here that are very important to pay attention to. If this has tripped, but this was all clean over here. The airflow, no air restrictions. This thing was clean. Your lint trap was clean. Everything appeared to have a good airflow, but this guy has tripped. What that means is that this overheated. So if you don't have also have a clog going out outside the house somewhere, you have to ask yourself, why did this overheat? Because if you just pop another one on there, it's going to do the same thing. This is your safety fuse. If this overheats, this trips, and then it's no good. But 9 times out of 10, the reason this will trip if everything else is clean is because this has gone bad. And what happens when this goes bad, it allows this to get too hot for too long, and it trips this. So a lot of times people will pay $7 for a new one of these on Amazon, put it in, 3 or 4 loads, it happens again, and then this trips, it keeps tripping. So you can buy a little kit, it's like $15 that has both of these in it. Sometimes it comes with this white fuse here too. But replace this. So if everything's clean and your issue is that this keeps tripping, replace this high limit thermostat right here. Also another tip is that these can be reset. So if you touch here and it's an OL or there's no sound, there's no beep, that means this is bad. You can take this off, and on this flat side over here you can whack it really hard on the ground, and that'll reset it. Then you can test it again, and it'll test good. There's a little flex plate in here that when it overheats, it pops out, and you whack it on the ground, you're essentially popping it back in place. So there's a few videos out there that explain how to do that, but I just want to throw that out there. So now, if this is tripped, this is good, and this is completely jam-packed full, kind of like it was, sometimes maybe even worse, maybe so bad that when you pull this off, stuff falls out and no air can get through here. Or maybe you got like a sock or a huge thing of lint built up in here, that will cause this to trip. So then typically it's not this guy here. What happens then is just the air not being able to move through, it kind of hangs out here, overheats and trips this. So if you're doing this and this is bad, but all this is completely clogged up and jam-packed full, probably don't have to worry about that. So a little tip there for you. So that should fix your issue there. One other thing. If all of this is good, this is clean, these are good, everything seems to be fine, the heating element tests out great, and you don't have any heat, or it just seems like it's not getting hot, maybe it's your timer. And there's a little test, a little trick you can do to find that out. I mean, that's pretty much what it's going to be. If everything here good, all of this is good, everything is clean, but you don't have any heat, that's going to point to the timer. And a real quick way that you can test it, if you've got this far, you can carefully plug your dryer in, turn it on, and what I will do is I'll stand right here where I can see my timer and where I can see the heating element. I can look down in here and see if the coils are getting hot, right? So what you do is turn it on, high heat, right? You hit start, it's running, and you don't have any heat, you're looking and it's totally cold. If you have a short in your timer, what you can do is you can push real hard on it this way and look, and if it starts to heat up, then you know there's a short in the timer. And I test it all 4 ways. So I push this way, I'll pull back, I'll turn it and lift up, and then push down, and just give it a second to kick on. And if you checked everything else, almost 10 out of 10 times, if I come up here and do this little trick, one of these directions will kick on, and I'll see the heat start, and you'll see down in this hole, you can see all the red coils start to heat up, and then when I let go, it shuts off. That tells you the timer is the issue. And then you'd want to essentially look up that timer and replace it. I will eventually do a video on how to rebuild those timers. You can look that up too. There's a few videos out there if you need to do it like today. That's a little bit more involved. It can be done, but if you're not inclined to work with those tiny parts and stuff, you could also just go on Amazon or eBay and probably pick one up for 20 or 30 bucks used and just call it good. So guys, that's pretty much it. Sorry about my all-star camera work here, but I hope this video helps somebody out. I have a mission of keeping these appliances out of the landfills, keeping them out of the scrap yards, keeping more money in your pocket. I mean, people are just giving these away because they have no idea how to work on them, how to fix it, and a lot of the information is really jumbled out there. So hopefully this has helped somebody out. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comments. I'll do my best to get in there and reply. Or, you know, a lot of times technicians that have been doing this stuff for a long time, they watch these videos and they're happy to lend expert advice too if you leave a comment saying, hey, I have this specific issue and it wasn't covered in the video. So if you have a question, throw it up and I'll hopefully get to it. Somebody will get you an answer. Like and subscribe if you would. If this video helped you out, maybe save you some cash. Eventually this dryer here, it's going to get completely redone. All of this can be cleaned, get some nice touch-up paint on there, and we can keep this dryer going. Otherwise, this was sitting out on the curb ready to be taken to the scrapyard where they crunch it up and put it in the ground. So let's try to keep that from happening, guys. Clean the planet up a little bit. So thanks a bunch for watching my video. Again, I hope it helped you out. Like and subscribe, and you got questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks, and have a great day.